I am a relationship coach. Coaching is different than therapy, and I love to coach couples and give them tips and tools on how to have great, healthy relationships. In work, in other places, in our professional lives, we do this all the time. We identify, oh my goodness, they're really pissing me off. But you know what? I'm going to say, can you come into the office at 2:00 so we can have a nice conversation about that? You know, we don't scream at people down corridors and get on like that. You have to fill the relationship cup, but you have to fill your own cup first. I would say half of my couples that I coach, the guys' cups are empty. Porn is another big problem for couples. So the institution of marriage was created for the protection of women. Don't let them take their phones to their rooms. All technologies to be seen. But here's what we could do, sweetheart. I can sort you out, no problem at all. The guy behind the camera's like, oh dear God, he didn't warn me.
Oren runs off. How's it going, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Here's the Crack podcast. We are joined today by Lisa. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much for asking me.
And you've done some research. You've listened to a few of our podcasts. So
I listened to the one where you persuaded the boys to do one on relationships.
Yeah.
Even though you knew I was coming.
There's a false narrative on that, but we'll not get into that. What I do really appreciate is the fact that you've came in and you've said I listened to the last one, as in like the most recent one, because there's so many people who walk in here and like, oh, I went way back to the beginning, and way back to the beginning is trash.
Not good.
It's us three huddled around the microphone in Tommy's kitchen, just like, so what are we talking about today?
Oh, sure, it's a crack.
Exactly. But yes, we'll start the podcast off how we kind of are starting off recently, which is if we were in an elevator with you, you kind of have 30 seconds and someone was to ask you who you are and what you do, what would your response be?
Oh, who am I? That could take a lot more than 30 seconds. But what I do for a job is that I am a relationship coach. Coaching is different than therapy. And I love to coach couples and give them tips and tools on how to have great, healthy relationships.
Nice. That was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
How's coaching different than therapy?
So, excellent question. So I don't have a degree in psychotherapy or I'm a life coach. So I have a diploma in life coaching and I choose to specialise in relationships. So when we coach, we probably would ask a little bit of information about your family of origin and things like that, you know. But really, coaching is more about, here's a problem. Oh, right. I have an idea of how that could be fixed. Think of coaching like a PT or like think of Serena Williams getting coached.
Yeah.
They don't say you hit that ball like that when you were 7 because of blah, blah, blah. They say right now that's not suiting your game. So what can we do to change that and make it better?
Yeah.
That's what coaching's about.
And so I suppose to go back to the start, how did you first get into coaching? Where did it all start out?
Through tragedy. So my hubby and I have another business together and we had worked there together for 15 years. Fine, you know, no problem. And then it just got really, really heavy, really intense, and our children were all teenagers at that stage, so I think it was just everything was compounded. My mummy had passed away, so I think I was just a wee bit lost, and we were just arguing about the same thing over and over again, just the same stuff coming up, and one of our daughters actually said, seriously, are you two still arguing about this, blah, blah, blah. And I said, right, that's it, we're going to go and talk to somebody. I had been to therapy when my mummy had passed away, and just 3 times, and it was very, very useful. I think people also think once they start therapy, they're going to be in it for the rest of their lives. Most people only go 2, 3 times, 4 times, then leave it a wee while, then go back again. So I'd been 3 times. My mummy passed. It was a grief therapist, so helpful. So then I said to my hubby, do you know what, we're going to go and talk to a therapist. I didn't actually pick a marriage therapist, I just picked a therapist. We were really clear with her, just said, you know, we don't want to pick this all to death, we just want things that are going to help us now in our conflict, in our communication, in our business, how, and she gave us tons of things, practical things. We put them in place and we never looked back. But the problem was when we went, that was about 7 years ago, we didn't tell anybody because the shame was so bad. We didn't tell, my babysitter didn't tell anybody. And my job is to be on here with you lovely gentlemen, making it a normal thing, taking the shame and guilt away for asking for a little bit of help with a subject you get no training in. I think one of you guys said earlier, someone said, you're doing well, keep at it. what now? Hello? You know, we need to educate ourselves on how to have healthy real relationships. And if you're up against a problem that keeps repeating, Einstein said it is the first sign of insanity to keep repeating and expect a different outcome. You need a coach, a wee bit of coaching.
And was it because maybe there was a lack of coaches that made you want to do it?
So I just kept saying, everyone needs to know this stuff. Why does everyone not know this stuff? And then, of course, when I started, I read the books and podcasts and all that sort of thing. And then I started a little Facebook page. And then I come one night and my hubby said, I found you an Instagram handle. And I went, okay, what is it? And he goes, relationship.coaching.ni. Let's do this. So that was the start.
Very good.
What was the steps to starting off then? Like, did you just build the Instagram or?
I took the Instagram, but I didn't know anything about it actually. Yeah. Well, no, a lie. Telling a lie. I started a Facebook group under a fake name because I was so scared.
Right.
I took my mummy's maiden name and I started a Facebook page under a fake name. And really my idea at that stage was just to go on and give like little videos and do little talks and life coachy stuff that involved relationships as well. So I was going on doing little videos under a fake name. Like that makes zero sense.
Was your face in the video? What your face is in the video?
Know, okay, don't go on. It was a Freudian thing, and that's all I'm going to say. Clearly, I wanted to be caught.
So when was the time whenever someone inevitably, because this definitely happened, and went, here,
I walked into work.
This woman looks wild like you.
I walked into work, and somebody goes, is this you? But like, I know it's you. Like, why am I even asking the freaking question? And I went, and they went, but sure, it's great. It's all good practical advice that we would all give our best friends. Put your bloody name to it. And I was like, and that was when I was crying to my husband, and then he came up with the one. And then my kids were like, Mum, not Facebook. It's for mums. You need to get the younger generation, which is Instagram. Yeah. So that's how I went on Instagram.
That's even cool in itself that your kids were like, you need to get on Instagram, because there would be so many kids out there who, when they understand like the type of things, like the sort of taboo topics that you're sort of going after, they would be like, absolutely not.
But you have to remember, my kids saw us sad. Yeah. They saw us arguing about the same thing over and over again. So like, my kids are 20 and 21 and 15 now. So like, this is 5-6 years ago, you know, they were 13, 14, 15. They knew exactly what was going on. And they were like, Mum, we can see how it's helped. Like, don't be wrong, my husband and I loved each other and still do adore each other. And that was so annoying. It was just these stupid things that kept coming up again. And it was just so frustrating and annoying. Yeah. So they saw that. And then, of course, they were at the stage where they're having boyfriends, and I'm like giving advice to them, and they're like, everyone, you're right, everyone does need to know this stuff. And then they'd have people over, and I'd be getting them to do all their tests and all. We'll get into that in a second. Anyway, it was my son. He was about 10, and he said, Mum, you know, you can do things on that Facebook thing, and like, you can just talk to people all the time. And I was like, okay, what is that called? He goes, I think it's called going live. I think you go live, Mum. You just go live. And I was like, right, well, will I just do that? He goes, when we do that, that'd be great. So he still says to this day, he's taking all the credit. Because it was the lives that I did during lockdown that did make it all go mental. Yeah.
Why was that? Was people interacting and stuff with you?
Yeah, so right before lockdown, I'd started to do so I had my Instagram page on the go. I had 500 followers, if you don't mind.
Nice.
Like, I thought I was all that.
Nice. That's good.
And I gave flyers out in my local area in Antrim for women to come for wee classes in a wee place like this in Antrim to do classes on conflict communication and confidence. So it was 3 Tuesday nights. I had 4 of my friends come just to fill seats in case nobody actually turned up. You know, one of those nights.
Good.
So, you know, we've all done that. So I did those, thought I was living my best life. Then I was running another set, and then COVID hit. So I'm a life coach, so I know that I need purpose every day. We all need purpose, need something to get up for. And I knew it would do me no good lying in my bed till noon during COVID. So I said, I think I still have the same post, and I must put it up. So it's 3 years then, the 23rd of March. And I said, every morning I will be on Instagram at 10 o'clock. If it helps one person, sure, that's great. So I got on every morning. The first morning I got on, 7 people were there. And let's face it, they were my friends. Like, that was just my friends watching me crying on Instagram going, I can't believe we're going through this. This is terrible. How are we meant to do this? And I said I would do 2 weeks. I did 57 days in a row every morning.
Wow.
Jesus.
What the fuck else were we doing?
Yeah.
That's true.
So I did 57 days, and people started to hear about it. And by the end of 57 days, 3,000 people were watching every morning.
Wow. 3,000
That's
people.
mental.
And then I started getting messages, and then all our local influencers were shouting me out. So it was brilliant. So nice of them.
Yeah. And at the time, sort of, you'd referenced there that you and your husband were going through a bit of a patch, and you decided to go and see someone about that. What was that sort of time like, where almost you were holding your hand up and saying, I do need a bit of help? Like, what was between you and your husband? What was the kind of dynamic there? Was he happy to do that? Were you? What was? I
think we both knew that we had to do something. Would we have liked to do? Would we have liked to just click our fingers and it just magically be better tomorrow? Yes. But I'd say, and we were both nervous. Yes, I think the first point we went to, we both drove, like I was in one place and he was in another place, and we both drove to it separately, and we're like, hello, in the car park. This is the weirdest thing we've maybe ever done in our whole lives. And remember, at this stage, we were together at that stage 27 years.
God.
Oh, wow.
So we're 33 years together now.
Wow.
Maybe 25 years. It's a long time.
Yeah.
What age did you start? What age did you get married?
18. No, we're together since we were 18. And we're both 51 now. So that was when you meant to say, no, you're not 50.
No, that when I asked that question, I meant it to seem like
Did
shock.
you?
Like, what age? You
Excellent.
must have been young.
Yeah, no, we started out when we were 18. So but that's, and I kept, and then the next 2 times we went in the same car because we realised it was actually going to be okay. And every time we're coming home, I was like, everyone needs to know, how did we even get this far, Nigel? Like, how have we even got this far, not knowing this stuff?
What were the things that when you went to this person that you kind of, what were the things that resonated with you?
Well, the first thing
you?
she said was that our home-work balance was all out of whack.
Right.
The business that we had together, we had no boundaries about it. We just, when something popped into my head to say about something that happened that day, could be 11 o'clock at night, I'd be like, oh, you know what so-and-so said today? Must get that sorted out tomorrow. That's not healthy.
Was that just bringing work home?
Yeah, and maybe that might seem like a flippant thing that I would say, but maybe my hubby had words with that staff member 3 weeks before, so then that stirs all that up for him, So it was just all that. We had to get a lot of boundaries in around that. One of her suggestions was, just don't talk about work after 6 o'clock. Home time is home time,
Yeah.
I was like, oh dear, that seems a wee bit too sensible, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So,
But was it as simple and straightforward as that? Like,
well, then she would say things like, if something pops into your head, write it down in a note and talk tomorrow about it.
Because I was going to say that in itself, like, I know even my sort of personality, if I had something, like if I was in a business with my significant other and was like coming home and something popped into my head that I saw as really important, and I was like, it was like 6:01. You're like, here, I thought about this, and they're like, shh, no talking to work after 6:01.
Well, look, if it was an exciting thing or so-and-so's going to invite us to something like that's different. But we, in our business at that time, we were going through a really stressed, the business was just going through a big change and a big upheaval. So it was just, don't talk about all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously you decided, you were running the classes, you took it to online, and obviously at the time whenever lockdown kind of came about, like what was it like being shouted out by all these people and the traction going? Because obviously you can look in a room that you're hosting and see 50 people sitting, but when you can't actually see the followers, like 3,000 followers or whatever, 3,000 people watching, what was that time like? Like, did you realize this is going somewhere?
I didn't know what the blue squares were.
The blue
followers.
Oh yes, the blue circles. Yeah.
So I could see that 500 number, and then I kept noticing that going up, and I said to my teenagers, something's happening on Mummy's wee page, and they were like, what do you mean? I was like, that number there keeps going up, and these blue squares keep appearing, and they say following. What is that about? And my girls were just like, give me your phone. And she was like, then they explained to me how it works, and then they said, someone must be shouting you out. There's just no way this is happening. Someone's shouting you out. I was like, shouting me out. Is that good or bad? What does that mean? It's an influencer. And I'm like, an influencer. What exactly are they influencing? People to follow you is what they're doing. That's what they're influencing. I was like, get it now.
Yeah.
So they were like, next time you see the blue squares, Mummy, bring your phone to us. And I was like, okay, I'm on it. So the blue squares were coming on, and I was like, look, it's happening. And they're like, it's Sinead Haig. Sinead Haig's shouting you out.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. So anybody follows Sinead Haig? Anyway, so she was shouting me out. Another lovely girl, Louise McDonnell, LMD. So just two lovely girls. And then I said, I must message them and say thank you. And my teenagers were like, okay, now I'm going to actually kill her. And then they're like, you can't message Sinead Haig. Like, you just can't message these people. And I was like, but the button here says message, so I can message them. And they were like, okay, you do you.
Yeah.
And so then they got back and they were just lovely. And then I did lives with them and did podcasts with them. And
Was that surreal, even for like your kids? Like, they were obviously being supportive and like saying for you to do it, but when you started getting that traction, were they like a bit as well? Like, Jesus, like, I can't believe how well this is going.
well, they're teenagers, so I don't know how interested they really were, apart from when I asked them about it. But there was a stage where I had to come to my hubby and say, there's a situation here. There's a bit of a situation here. So I think I had 2,000 followers at that stage. I only have 17,000 followers. Like, I'm not that huge, but I had about 2,000.
That must be nice.
Well, I'll shout you out, because you know what influencers do? They like influence people to follow stuff. Keep up, boys, come on. No, I had about 2,000 followers, and the morning shows, the lives were starting to really get traction, and that was great. And people were starting to message me about things like, I would talk a lot about loving and accepting yourself, and then bringing that best version of yourself to your relationship rather than being codependent and this sort of thing. People started to message me about self-love and self-acceptance and what does this mean. And like here in Ireland, it's not something we really talk about that often. You want to be beating yourself with that big stick as much as you can. So the numbers, so I had to go to my husband, and I remember distinctly he was in our sunroom, and I was like, sweetheart, and he knows when I say that it could be anything. Sorry, silly cough. And I said yes. I said, there's that thing that I'm doing every morning. It's going a bit. And he was like, looked up at me, and I was like, so how I was telling a few people like our stuff, it's kind of turned into a thing. And he was like, okay, let me think about it. Let me have a wee think. Now that could mean anything, lads. This could mean anything. That could mean.
Once the brain starts ticking.
Sorry. Yeah, once that starts ticking, we're in trouble. Yeah, and the cough starts. So, he came back about 45 minutes later. He went to his man cave. Every man needs a man cave.
Nice.
Ladies, they need a man cave. I just can't even tell you anymore. They need a man cave. So it's his. This is the garage. So he came back about 45 minutes later, and he said, "Sweetheart, tell the people everything they need to know. If it has to be us that sticks our head above the parapet, that's all right. Go, do everything."
Nice.
But he said, I will never be talking, and I'll never be on that thing. And I was like, no, it's okay. That's okay. And I don't mean, it wasn't permission, but we're a partnership, and I am. It wasn't like me, I wasn't selling essential oils, I'm selling relationship, and I'm in a relationship. So it's just respect and kindness,
Yeah. And I suppose, obviously, if you were trying to keep that part of your life a bit of downplay it or keep it on a secret, that could stir up some of the, like, if he stumbled across it and been like, Sinead Haig's following her, what, like, or something like that, like, it would have been a bit of a stressful situation. But that's good. You seem like you have a very supportive family.
Yes, he's very, very good. He's very, very good. And he people say to him, I can't believe you let her do this, because it's Northern Ireland. I can't believe you let her do that. I can't believe you let her go and do speaking events. I can't believe you let her say those things. And he always just says, she's more alive now than I've ever seen her, and that's my girl.
Yeah, that's class.
That's amazing.
Such a mentality though over here.
Oh, it's shocking. It's shocking.
Yeah.
We lived away for a long time. We lived away for when we were younger, before we had the kids. So I think when we've hopefully brought someone, I think whenever I started the life coaching and going to therapy, I was like, yes, this is the missing link. This is the thing that they do in other countries that we need to start doing here.
Yeah.
Did you say that travelling did open your mind to other things?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Experiencing other cultures and stuff.
Like we lived in America 25 years. Well, many years. I can't remember when we were in her young 20s. But like even then, people were going to therapy in
Yeah.
America then. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey was the best, Dr. Phil, all that stuff was all happening then. You know, remember?
Dr. Phil.
Dr.
My mum used to always watch Dr. Phil.
Phil's great.
He's
Yeah.
no Jeremy Kyle.
No.
So, you know.
I suppose, like, when did that turn from, like, you're doing your lives and all to actually having, like people pay you, basically, and, like, bringing clients on and things
Somebody
like
messaged and said, do you do online coaching? And I said, Didn't know
Kids.
how to work Zoom. Didn't know how to work Zoom.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything. First month I was coaching couples. Okay, God, this is embarrassing. I just did it on video chat on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And how did people
fair.
find that? Did it go well? Or?
They were fine. But everybody was the same. None of us didn't know what we were doing. You know,
Yeah.
none of us
Yeah.
knew about. We're still figuring out the whole working from. Like at that stage, people weren't really even back to work yet. You know,
Yeah.
I hadn't even
Yeah.
got that figured out yet.
that.
So they were fine, except then Instagram found me out and it only let me have 10 video calls a week. So I was like, right. And I had a lovely family friend who's your age guy's business degree. And he was like, Lisa, we need to have a wee chat. And I was like, sure thing, Josh, no problem, we'll have a wee chat. And he goes, we're going to have to figure this out. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and he was at his house. So he was very happy he was in Wales actually, but he was very happy to help me in a business point of view. He goes, we're going to have to start doing this on Zoom. And I was like, now what would that be, Josh? How the heck would I do it? And he was like, it's free. And I was like, okay, that's a good start because I'm not making any money at the minute. That's brilliant. So he set me up with that, but my hubby, I must have Zoomed him 15 times before I did my first Zoom call. And then people were just lovely. And I was charging people like £25 for an hour because I just didn't know what
Yeah.
to do and how to, my books were full and no, it was great.
That's mad.
Mad.
Yeah. And obviously, like you sort of share that your goal is to sort of take the shame and guilt out of sort of getting help around building like sort of healthy relationships and stuff. Like why do you think there is, like, I know we always say in Northern Ireland and stuff that's a bit sort of, but in terms of relationships, why do you think there is that sort of scaredness about opening up and talking?
I think sometimes people think that once they start, they're going to have to come to a coach for the rest of their lives. Most people I coach twice, 3 times.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll just talk about the bit that's broken. Maybe that might be intimacy, their sex life, their communication, their conflict style. That's what coaching is. It's just fixing that thing. Then some people come back and they go, okay, we've got that bit under control, but now this bit's a bit surface. Now I'm so far deep in this, I can't understand why anybody wouldn't. I put a question box up yesterday on my Instagram and it was, what are your biggest struggles? And the thing is, it's not big things. It's the kids take too much time, work-life balance, the mother-in-law, you know, it's these normal things, the grit. I talk about getting in the gears. Of all the couples I coach, there's about 3% that it's the big things like mistrust, somebody's gambled all the money away or someone's having an affair. The majority of my couples it's this grit that gets in the wheels after a while. And my fascination is I probably 40 people put in last night into the question box. What's stopping those 40 people booking a session? What is that shame? What is that guilt? Where are we still stuck? And why in relationships do we repeat and repeat and repeat? If there was a bit of kit on this table that wasn't working, you would say, right, we need to look into that. Let's Google that. You'd be doing that, wouldn't you? You'd be figuring out how that would happen because you find an answer to everything and know all the things. So you'd be Googling going, why is this not working?
Where are you going with this here? And then just
You'd be
realise.
Googling, why is that not working? Why have we just bought this? You go to
No, I'd already know. I wouldn't have to
You'd
Google.
already you know what? It's only my fault. I totally take that. Clearly that's my fault. Do you know what I mean? But why, when it comes to relationships, do we not say, what is it I need to look at in myself here? What am I repeating? Why are we so scared to look inward? It's fascinating to me.
Well, is there anything that really stands out that's such a common thing that a lot of couples come with you that can just be
Conflict.
just
People don't know how to do conflict well.
in what sense? Like,
So people are either anxious or avoidant. And anxious attracts avoidant like a moth to a flame. So we are all here today, perfectly secure people. But when we get into conflict with our significant other, we almost divert to or go backwards to one of these, either anxious or avoidant. And it's a lot of how we showed up as a teenager. So like therapy wise, it's a lot of way we behave like we showed up as a teenager, but it's about learning new programmings and new words to say and being able to sit in that really uncomfortableness with your person in a vulnerable way, not armoring up and saying things like, well, really, if I did that, you know what you did? And then when you did that, you know what happened then? And we just go tit for tat, instead of actually listening and thinking, okay, this is a problem. This is a wee bit of an issue. How can we do this differently? Just like you would do in work. But in our relationships with the person that you're doing the most intimate acts with, you behave the worst.
And you talk about healthy conflict. Like what? Because I think people will hear the word conflict and they go, "Oh no," but yours like healthy conflict. It almost seems like it's like accepting it. Let's go down that rabbit hole.
Well, I've decided that I'm actually turning into Jesus because I only teach in parables now.
Nice.
So I'll tell a wee story. And my poor husband is wonderful, but he gets thrown under the bus right and regular. So here we go. So I've had this thing on my teeth to make my teeth beautiful and straight and shiny and all that sort of stuff. So I was prancing around going, look at my teeth, aren't they lovely? And later on, remind me, we're going to talk about love languages. And one of my love languages is words of affirmation. So I was prancing around, affirming myself basically, going, look at my teeth, aren't they lovely? Look at my teeth, aren't they great? And my hubby said, I don't see any difference.
That's a no-no, is it?
It gets even better. And then he said, how much was it again? Like, I don't really know if that was worth the money. And you know yourself when you can hear the words rolling out of your mouth and you're going like, and as I could see his cogs turning going, stop speaking, but no, the words still coming out of my mouth. Then he turned to our big grown up children now and went, do you see any difference? Well,
God.
Yeah.
Retreat to the man cave.
Well, at that I was, oh my days. So back in the day, that would have been explosion for me. That would have been like, what the actual, I would have been off the deep end. And then I was a huffer, so, you know, like stonewalling, silent treatment. And I was really good at it. Like, I miss it so much. I was so good at it. And I was so like, you know, like the ones, maybe your significant other, I'm sure your significant others don't do this, but you know the one where you'd have people, so I'd be huffing with my husband about something that he did, and then we'd have people over dinner and I would be all the life and soul of the party, and then they would leave and the door would lock and then I would go back to huffing with him.
All right.
And he would say, I thought we were over it, and I would say, they didn't piss me off, did they? So why would I huff with them? It was only you who pissed me off.
But during that time, would you have still been huffing with him, or would you have?
I would.
Just
Yeah.
pretend?
Would you have been like, oh,
He knew that I was still
Yeah.
with him, but he did take the opportunity to like ask me things that he was scared to ask me that week when I was huffing. You know, when the people were over. You know, horrible behavior. It's actually emotional abuse. It's horrible behavior, and I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It stems from an anxious attachment style. So I'm just so anxious. I just can't even cope with this. I'm just shutting you out. And then that sort of played to his attachment style, which is avoidant. So anyway, nightmare. But that was the first. So but when we went to therapy, she told me I couldn't huff. And I huffed with her. And had to pay her money at the end.
Yeah.
So you huffed even more then?
It's so annoying. And I huffed the whole way home in the car as well. And Nigel was like, she said you can't huff. I'm like, and I went back the next time and I was like, so see that no huffing thing? You're going to have to give me something else to do, because if I can't do that, I need to fill the void. She goes, I'm going to teach you how to do healthy conflict. And I was like, okay, this sounds really boring, but okay. So anyway, so healthy conflict now in our house, and hopefully this will help some people, looks like when you identify the red mist. So when my hubby said that about not seeing any difference with my teeth, the red mist, so everybody knows what that means, like that, like gut feeling, or maybe it's your head, or you just want to, you want to say something back, you're just raging, you know. So we have to identify that in our bodies and not react to it, because in work, in other places, in our professional lives, we do this all the time. We identify, oh my goodness, they're really pissing me off. But you know what? I'm going to say, can you come into the office at 2:00 so we can have a nice conversation about that? You know, we don't scream at people down corridors and get on like that anymore. So I took myself to the utility room and I had a little talk to myself and I said, now, Lisa, you feel the red mist, but we must remember under the red mist is fueled by some sort of emotion that starts with I feel. Okay? So how did I feel when my hubby said that? And sometimes I coach men and they'll say, I felt raging. I'm like, can you give me another word for that? Furious. I'm like, can you give me another word for that? Bad tempered. I'm like, okay, right, got a bit of work here to do. So under the red mist is, what is under the red mist? I feel unseen. I feel a bit disrespected. I feel sad. And a wee bit taken for granted and all those sort of things. So then let the red mist settle. You might have to go walk. You might have to take yourself to your man cave or walk the dog or go to the bath or something. You come back to your person and you say, can we have a chat? And I would like a safe place to land. When your person says to you they want a safe place to land, that is your time to put your superhero cape on and show up as the best version of yourself. So my hubby says, yes, sweetheart, what do you want to talk about? And I say, see that there happened about my teeth. And he's like, what happened about the teeth? I don't even this is the thing. Most conflict comes from the person doesn't even remember what you're talking about. He goes, your teeth. I was like, remember when that happened about my teeth? Well, don't say the word you. So I said, remember that happened about my teeth? When that happened, I felt. So a situation happened and I felt. Okay? This is the science behind it. Situation happened, I felt. So I felt sad, I felt unseen, I felt unheard, I felt a wee bit embarrassed, and I'm sad. Once you've done the work, the only response to that is, I'm sorry you feel like that. I didn't ever mean to make you feel like that. End off. Now, the trick is the anxious attachment style wants to keep going and going and going and going. Why did you say it? Why do you think that? And we learn that from teenage life. Remember we used to apologise to our parents for being late or not ringing or something, and they'd say, thanks for saying sorry, but you're banned from your phone for 2 weeks. Yeah. That is poor programming, bad behaviour. So when you get your apology, you get your accountability, you just say, thank you, and you move on with the day.
But what if they're not happy with accepting that?
What if they'd say, but your teeth don't look any different?
No, don't worry. So that it's not about the teeth; it's about how we make each other feel.
Yeah.
So he is sorry and he's accountable for how he made me feel, and that's all that's important. Because that night he actually did say, some balls on him. That night he actually did say, you know, I just always really liked your teeth. I just never really thought there was a problem anyway. I just think that your teeth are lovely anyway. I was like, I appreciate that. I was like, can you really not see a difference? He goes, sweetheart, I'm so sorry, but I really can't see a difference. I was like, that's okay. He's entitled to his opinion.
Yeah. I'm sure that takes practicing though.
We've been together 33 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's why.
Yeah.
But, or keep doing it the way you're doing it. See where it gets you.
Yeah.
It wasn't getting us anywhere.
Yeah.
And I hate it. And I hate that. If I could teach people to keep connected during conflict, it's that disconnect that comes when I was a huffer. That disconnect that's what kills you, you know.
Yeah. You mentioned there about the anxious type and stuff. What are immediately you're saying this and I'm honestly applying it to things that have happened that I'm like, okay, I could have handled that better, and I could, which is great. I'm sure people listening are doing the same thing. But you talk about the types. So what are the types and how do you know what type you are?
So it's a gentleman who wrote a book. It's called Attached. So you can read the book or you can do the free test online. The book's very good. The free test online is free attachment style test. And you just do the test and ask you questions. I'd highly recommend doing your love language test, which again is free. Free, put in free 5 love language test, do that. And there's also argument style tests, free argument style tests. And you get all this information back to your email, and it's just, and do these things when you're in a good place with your partner and talk about them like, oh my dear God, that was me. There's one of the argument styles, it's a porcupine, and I'm like, So I'm really feeling like being a porcupine right now, but I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm really feeling anxious right now, but I'm really trying to sit in it. I really feeling really avoidant right now. I want to avoid this conversation like the plague, but I really want to sit in it with you because I want a great relationship. It's just putting these words in your vocabulary, you know.
Mm-hmm. What other types?
That's it. Secure, anxious, avoidant.
So is it the three of them?
That's the three. That's it.
Secure
Easy.
is
So secure. So like we're sitting around here all very secure. Okay.
Yeah.
But as soon as there would be a bit of conflict between any of you guys, or
yeah.
you almost default to childhood patterns of either anxious
I
or
love this.
avoidant.
Yeah, which is okay.
So it's not black and white. You're not just one. You can either like switch between or.
People tend to be more one.
Yeah.
People tend to be more one, but again, it's situational. You know,
Yeah.
situational.
So-
you know, if you don't know how to do it, you're going to avoid it. I mean, it's makes sense.
Would avoidant be as like? Would it be like I'm not talking about this? I'm away. Boshed on. Anxious would be what like?
Talk it to death.
Ah yes.
Ah, yes. Avoidant also could be, you know, people who don't argue.
Mm-hmm.
People say to me something like, "We just never argue." I'm like, okay, but are you able to say all your words, or you just don't know how to do it, so you just avoid any sort of conflict or any sort of thing like that, which would
Yeah.
worry
Yeah.
me more.
I think that's a big flex for a lot of people. Like some like if you're out on like a double date or something, they're like, "Haha, we hardly ever argue," and I'm like, bollocks, like you do. What is that a worrying?
Well, it would be something for me to look at to say, if you never argue, you know, are you just clones of each other, or are you not arguing because you don't know how to do it well and you're just scared? You're avoidant, maybe. You're just avoidant, and,
Yeah.
and you're too avoidance, maybe. I don't know.
I sort of like people that just find it difficult to talk about it, so we just avoid it altogether, basically. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, we get angry. The red mist descends. That red mist is fueled by chemicals and hormones, and you have to almost like wait till that passes by. It's like, it's a bit like, geez, have you ever watched Inside Out? It's a Pixar movie.
Yeah.
It's like the red mist explodes and all the other emotions are like, run for the hills, we don't know how to cope, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to wait till that red mist calms down and we'll go, okay, see, when that happened, I felt like this. And here's the thing, guys, we are entitled to have a feeling about something. I'm entitled to feel like that thing over there is ugly, and you're entitled to feel, I think that thing over there is beautiful.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you wrong and me right. They are our feelings. And when we get into relationships and we're together a long time, we start thinking that we have to agree with everything, and we
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Subjective.
Yeah.
And for like, say there's like people listening there maybe in a new relationship, like sort of just starting out, like what sort of advice would you give them to like have a good relationship?
Start all those questions, all those questions, all those wee quizzes are great. Do those 3 quizzes. Buy my ebook.
Yeah.
It's $7.99, which is not going to kill the bank. You can get a cocktail for that. And just start educating yourself. My whole thing is, bring me something that you don't get any education on. We get education on everything. I sat down here today and you guys were like, headphones this, mic that. You get education on everything. Educate ourselves. Make it a normal thing. This is okay. It's one of the hardest things we have to do. Be in relationship. Educate yourself on how to do it.
So even for the likes of a new couple, where I always call it like the honeymoon phase, where you're in like the kind of everything's all sweetness and light, you like even at that you can still go here. I think we should maybe go to some relationship coaching to see how we could like better this to start with, or what.
Well, in an
Why are you
ideal world,
why are you
Could you
Just
imagine
thinking,
putting that out
imagine being with someone like a month or two and be like, I think we should go to a relationship coach. It's like, it's very.
why?
I just think it's.
Yeah,
it puts
Thomas,
a lot of
why?
pressure on the
I think the first
But, like,
instinct
if
from the
you're
other
with
person would be,
if
there's a
you're
problem.
but like if you're with someone 2 months, you sort of don't really know, is this gonna go, how long is
Yeah.
this gonna last, and then you're like, we're gonna go to a relationship coach. Surely that's like, right, this is gonna go for like this. I'm
Seems-
invested on this, like, you know.
This is just my personal research. I'm just like,
Yeah,
that's what we need to sort of come up against and say, how can we put it across that, you know what, I want to get the best out of this. So let's go and get some tips and tools on how to have a great relationship.
yeah.
Whereas relationship coaching, does that sound wrong? Is it, do we need to change the wording?
Yeah.
all that sort of thing. I think a month in would be a bit. I think a month in might be a bit, you know. But like, what about when you move in together? Do you know what? Let's make sure we have all the education and the tips and tools that we could possibly need. So we'll move in together. Life will be as smooth as it possibly can.
Mhm.
You know, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? So anyway,
Don't be
that's-
avoidant.
I'm just saying. If someone's listening to this and they're with someone
Well-
for 2 months and they're like, here, let's go to a relationship coach.
Well,
If that was me personally, I would be like, fuck, like, come on, calm down, like.
Well, I'm actually developing a new thing at the minute as well.
Right.
So I'm going to have an online course. So you
Yeah.
won't actually have to see me. Well, you'd have to see me because it's a video. So it'll be like they'll get like a wee weekly video, and it'll be yours to keep for life.
Mm.
So something like that would be lovely for like
See, I
moving in
get,
together.
I get what you're saying, because like even though I think I'm kind of taking the piss out of you, I would be the same. Like if me and Lucinda were together for like a month and she goes, oh, we should probably go see a
Right.
relationship coach, I would immediately think, what have I done wrong?
Okay. So
You know what I
here's
mean?
the thing: aren't you all with significant others?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for your engagement wedding presents, I will give you all a free session
There we go.
for your person,
Okay.
for you and your person.
Shane,
And
you need
that's
to
the
get
thing.
engaged.
And
Get the
then-
finger out.
And then you guys need to say, look, we went to see your woman twice. Best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to change it. That's how we're going to change it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely be interesting. Do you think even doing like the love language thing was good? Just to like, but like it's like you're saying, like you don't necessarily have to be in a relationship to know these
Yeah.
things. Like it could benefit you even if you were single and then you're getting in a relationship and you know like, oh, I'm avoidant, I'm anxious, etc.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But it is like, for the very short conversation that we've had right now, it's like, and this is not me being like, oh, pure class or whatever. It's just more along the lines of like, for the very short conversation we've had, you start to see the benefits of just knowing the stuff. Even what you were saying there about the whole red mist thing, like I'm immediately thinking about like possibly like 20 different things that have happened in the past 6 months that I'm like, I could have probably handled that better, or could have probably.
And I'd say to people, when you respond to the red mist, you're just letting that 3-year-old come out your mouth and that teenager
Yeah.
slip out your mouth.
Yeah.
And you know, and you don't do it in your professional life. You just don't get on like that.
Yeah.
The other thing is at the start of relationships, you know, there's just so many chemicals and hormones that are going off at the start of a relationship. You know, at the start, it's all really lust chemicals and dopamine. And
Yeah.
they're telling us now we don't actually fall in love, we just fall in dopamine. You know, I mean, it's all that at the start of a relationship. And then when that starts to ease, and that can take anything from 6 months to 18 months that those chemicals start to ease, then we need to move into a different sort of desire and a different sort of connection, you know.
That's an interesting one. Do you think people? What do you think of that? Like
Well,
people? Do you think people fall in love, or do you think it is just a?
I know. What is love? I know we're
Yeah.
going to have an
I
accidental.
think I've heard that
We're going to have
before.
an
somewhere.
existential crisis now. So yeah, what is it? What is that spark? What is it? You could look at somebody and go, "Oh my days, they're so hot," and somebody else looking, "Oh, really? What is that? What is that chemistry? What is that energy?" That all that fascinates me, you know. But
Yeah.
we are definitely, and the more sex we have with our person, the more dopamine our body creates,
Yeah.
and the more attracted we are to them. I mean, we are just animals; like there's nothing else for it. So we need to really maintain that in long-term relationships. We really need to look after that erotic intelligence within our relationships. And the evidence tells us that the people who can really, develop that and keep that alive for the longevity of their relationship really benefits.
And obviously we touched on there like short term, like people who are only really in that as like sort of they've only started going out. But for people who like say like we're all in long term relationships, like for people who have been together for a considerable amount of time, what are some of the things that you see them coming to you for, or what are some of the things that you can sort of advise on keeping things
Unable to do healthy conflict, and then that affects your sex life. So you're
Okay.
unable to do healthy conflict, and then your sex life goes down the tubes. So people will then come to me and they'll say, if we could just get our communication better, then our sex life would be better. Or if we could just get our sex life better, our communication would be better. I'll let you decide which gender thinks each one. Not for me to say. And it's a bit of both. We have to get the communication better. We have to start being seen, heard and celebrated. But we also have to really invest in that kissing, hugging, having sex with our person, really prioritizing date nights, all
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And if one more person tells me that they want their sex life to get back on track organically, I will scream. I actually will scream. It doesn't happen organically. You have to put the work in. Ladies, you all shaved your legs because you thought you might get sex at the weekend. And that continues when you're married or in a long time with somebody. you have to think this could happen. How can we make this happen? It's like anything, you have to put the work in for all the things.
That's something you said to us whenever we were in the call, wasn't it? That it's always the man who thinks they've initiated it, but they aren't thinking about when, like a couple of days ago, when the girl shaved their legs when she done.
Got that spray tan, all the things.
Like, that was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said something interesting in that call as well. You like compared like sex to like the gym.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
yes.
you want to talk a bit about that.
So I go to the gym. Have I ever really felt like going to the gym? Like I go because my mate's there and I like to have a wee chat with her, you know, and then I might do a wee workout when I'm there as well, you know. And sometimes when we get really busy and life's really busy and you maybe have a couple of children, it's like, this is the last thing on my agenda here. Like I just don't really think about this. But let's face it, when you've gone to the gym, you've usually had a good time. So, you know, it's quite similar. It's quite similar. As long as everybody's coming home happy from the gym, it's great, you know, just get on with it.
Feel better after.
Yeah, exactly. And you feel, you know, you feel closer to your person. You've made that effort for each other, you know. The dopamine is, and I said you lads on the call, like that pair of shoes, it's just not as annoying when you've had an orgasm the night before. You know, that that thing that drives you, that toilet lid left up. See, what's her name? If that toilet lid might not be just as annoying, might not just be as annoying, you know.
Gosh.
gosh.
I think as well as that, like in terms of for people even like listening at the minute, it's like do you think there is signs of a healthy relationship? Like what are the sort of things that you would look at and go, God, like, because people always talk about, oh, they're so perfect together, they're so amazing, all that, but like what are the sort of...
Well, for me, it would be definitely that they can do conflict well.
Yeah.
That they fill the relationship cup. So I talk to couples all the time, but you have to fill the relationship cup. So the relationship just doesn't happen. Like this cup of water is beside me here. If that's sitting with just a little drag in the bottom, it's no good. You have to fill the relationship cup. But you have to fill your own cup first. So say 10 was the best you'd ever felt and 1 was the worst you've ever felt, right? If you're sitting at a 3 or a 4, very difficult to fill the relationship cup when you don't feel great about yourself. So the inner work, the self-work, making sure that you're sitting at like a 7, 8, 9 of your self-worth, that your cup is full, and then you give that best version of yourself to the relationship and really fill that cup. We can support each other when maybe one was going through a stressful time, maybe there's been a death or there's sickness. We absolutely need to emotionally support our person. But as much as we can, we need to be looking after our mental health, making sure we are the best versions of us, and then bringing that best version to our significant other and filling the relationship cup. And making sure you make your sex life and your intimacy a priority.
What advice would you give for filling up your cup? Like, how would you?
So, I would say half of my couples that I coach, the guys' cups are empty.
Why?
Fellas are desperate. Men are terrible at filling their own cup.
So does that mean? Do you mean like they're selfless, like they worry about others, and they're not worrying about themselves? Or?
You know, they're providing.
Okay.
They're looking after the kids. They're making sure their wife gets out to yoga. And I will say to the man, what would you say? And he'd say, I'm sitting on about a 3. And you can't sit on a 3 for long. And men are so poor at looking after their mental health.
But a lot of people might look at that and think, oh, he's just worried about his other half, that he's doing the right
I
thing
have
there.
to stop you there. Not your other half.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're whole the
Person,
way you
sorry.
are. You're complete. You don't need another half.
Yeah.
You're brilliant. You're complete. You want to bring that? Look at you laughing. Why can't you do?
Because they're laughing at me.
Words of affirmation are not his love language. You're already complete. And the more you know that about you, the best version you can be of you to bring to the other.
Yeah.
Okay? This codependency thing has to stop, okay? I think it was the Greeks that decided that we were stripped from each other and we had to search the land for other half. So, you know, we're not really going to, apart from Stoicism, we're not really going to do anything else that the Greeks told us to do. So, you know what I mean? So, it's it's the person that you want to build something with. Mm-hmm. But you have to be the best version of you to build that great thing. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So maybe that's playing football with the lads, making sure you ring your brother on the way home from work, making sure that you are putting that stuff in that makes you happy. Maybe it's that you need to change your job because you're miserable in jobs. So many men miserable in their jobs, you know, and that affects your mental health like nothing else.
Why would you say that? Is just men? Do you think it's just that sort of
Still that
stereotypical
provider mentality.
yeah.
Still the provider mentality.
Is
you
that
know?
like scary though? Like you're saying, most men you talk to is about a 3. Isn't that like a bit of like realization in terms of like how bad men's mental health is, especially over here? Like,
I'd say about half the men I talk to, half the couples I talk to, their mental health is, you know, and the most men will say is, I'm a bit low. Like, I'm a bit low. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
right.
that's the extent of it.
Yeah, that's all you'll get. You know, I'm a bit low. And then I'll say, how do you fill your cup? And they'll be like, I don't know where my cup lives.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's
God.
concerning.
Isn't it? Now, obviously, their relationship isn't going well, so that's draining them as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But they think if they get the relationship fixed, that's going to fix their cup. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But like, how do what would you say to them? Like a man there who's came to you and they're like, I don't have anything good type of thing.
I would say, went to their partner, when did you see him last? And she'll say, I saw him, his real self, 18 months ago. And I say, how does that make you feel? And she says, I miss him terribly.
Mm.
And then what do you work on getting back to
And
that?
then I say, you may need a one-to-one session. And we need to figure out how to fill your own cup, you know?
Yeah.
Men tend to think that they're being a good husband because they're not going to five-a-side and they're not seeing their mates and they're not, who's the Man U fan? That they've given up following Man U and they're doing all that and think, I'm being a really good provider, I'm being a really good husband. The evidence shows us that women want their man back after they've played golf. So he's like, right, where we're going today? What's happening? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
They don't want the 3 and 4 version of their man.
Would you have cases though where maybe their partner doesn't want them doing that, or maybe like why are you going playing football? Like, why don't you?
It's a bit of a vicious circle because then they've got so low that then they're like, oh really, you're going off there again, and the relationship has got so low. But if you really ask on their best days, you'd be like, what do you want your husband to be like? And be like, I want him to be like when he was working in that other place and he was full of the joys of spring. Even though, now, we have to get the work-life balance. A lot of men working 50, 60 hours and then they wonder why their relationship is struggling. Their business is going brilliant. Their golf game's going brilliant. They're fit as anything. They're spending time and money on that, but their relationship's not getting any time or money or investment. And that's when that's not going well.
Yeah.
Isn't it fascinating?
No, that.
Isn't it
That's
fascinating?
interesting.
My other bigger thing, I think the biggest issue is porn. It's another big problem for couples. We're going here, boys. Okay, so
Buckle in.
buckle up. So the guy behind the camera's like, oh dear God, he didn't warn me.
Aaron runs off.
So you know. Well, a lot of porn, people watching porn, mostly men, again, don't want to be stereotypical, but mostly men watching porn, maybe self-pleasuring while watching porn, and then they wonder why their sex life is going down the tubes. We now know that 1 in 10 9-year-old boys are watching porn.
That's madness. That is madness.
That's crazy.
Like,
Like.
I don't think it was bad like that whenever we were that age.
Well, we
though.
didn't have that.
I suppose we
well,
didn't
even
have
your
our
generation
phones
didn't have that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I think we've had this conversation as well. TikTok, for example, you'd be scrolling through TikTok and it'd be like, you know, interesting thing, football, whatever, and then bang, like some form of like, and like I think almost we like train our brains now to be like, right, flick past it or whatever, or that's that, or there's whatever. But like, I think when you actually then show it to the likes of, like, if your mum and dad or whatever seen it, they'd be like, what are you watching that for? That's
Well, there was somebody actually on the radio this week and they were saying that, like, my son, for example, is 15. So he just very recently was able to walk into a 15 movie by him, you know, with his mates. But on his phone, well, he can't obviously because we have his phone locked to 12-year-olds, but on his phone or his mate's phone, they can watch anything they want, but they can't walk into a cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we need, and there is legislation sitting ready to be signed about this.
That's such a good way of putting it. I'd never think of it like that. Well.
No.
Yeah. It's crazy.
See, back in our day, guys had to actually buy the magazines off the top shelves, like, and they were in brown paper bags. You know,
and you weren't going into the local shop to buy them in case anyone seen you.
Exactly. Exactly. Told your ma. You know, or well, worse than that, then there's big videos like not DVDs, like VCR videos.
The back room.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Down to the monkey.
Debbie Does Dallas or something. Anyway, sorry, everybody who knows me who's listening to this. So the point is, it's too available. Like my girls and my girls and our son are 5 years apart. So when our girls went to big school, they had a Nokia, blah blah blah. You know,
Yeah.
our son went to school. Well, I can't be going without an iPhone. Like, and he had that in P7. Now kids have iPhones from their P3.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to be every 5 years it's changing now. So any parents are listening, get your kids' phones locked down. Lock down your Wi-Fi in your house. Lock down your phone to 12. Because what they tell us is most of these 9-year-olds are finding it by accident and being like, oh, this makes me feel interesting. And what we also know is that 9-year-old, your mind is mush and you're just laying down those neural pathways, blah, blah, blah. And then what they're telling us is that then telling boys now, men cannot actually make love to their person without porn on in the background, and they cannot ejaculate unless they're watching porn, because their minds have been programmed to that is the pleasure pathways, and that's how I get there, and that's just really sad.
Yeah.
And ED, you know, erectile dysfunction,
Yeah.
is on the rise. Mental. So whatever age you are, that's the percentage of men who are struggling with ED. So if you're 30% of men are struggling with erectile dysfunction.
Is that because like related to?
I haven't put that quite together yet.
Okay.
If you are struggling with erectile dysfunction, you need to go to your GP, because it's the first sign of other sorts of health issues. Don't have any shame about it. Please go to your GP. And remember, if your GP is 30, he could be 30% chance of having erectile dysfunction as well. So just everybody get over themselves. Women have to go and get smears and breast exams done from their no age. You just need to look after yourselves, guys. Has to be done.
What is it every 10 years? It goes up by 10%, isn't it?
So whatever age you are, it's the percentage. So if you're 50, If you're 50, that means half of the men are having not every time, but they've experienced it in their life.
Yeah. So
You
it's a
know?
lot more common than you actually
Some
think.
are
then.
common.
Yeah.
But like a simple, quite common thing would be that a man, well, women, whoever, has self-pleasured in the afternoon. And then their person comes home and says, would you like to have sex tonight? And they're like, oh, sorry, sweetheart. How do we go this afternoon? Can we leave it till tomorrow? That's fine. You know, once, whatever.
Yeah.
But if that's really starting to affect your sex life, you need to look at that. Maybe you can self-pleasure every morning in life, and you can still show up and put the show on the road every night. Grand, work away. But if it's affecting your partner and affecting your sex life, you need to have a wee look at it.
Yeah.
And in terms of your experience, like, how big of a problem is this with like couples? Like, is it
It's big.
a lot like a
Or
regular
not,
occurrence type
whatever
of thing?
whatever way you want to put it.
Like you're even saying there, like, you know, say you've been watching porn or something, your partner comes home and they're like, do you want to have sex tonight? And like, most people aren't going to say it. Oh, no, we'll have just.
And then,
And then
what
that's a
people do.
problem. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the avoidant in us goes, oh no, sure, and then your partner starts thinking there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with me. It's me. I need to get my hair cut. I need to do that. I've put on a few pounds. Because you don't want to say, I just self-pleasure this afternoon, so I really don't know if I'm up for that. But here's what we could do, sweetheart. I can sort you out. No problem at all. Just be open.
Yeah.
Just be open. Just be open.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
would you like a massage? Would you like this? Would you like that? Would you like me to make you come? What do you want? Just be open.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
All the big boy words, all the big girl words.
Mm.
Because we're having sex with these people. We're doing the most intimate act. Why can't we say it in our mouths to the people that we're doing the most intimate acts with?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And how do you
Yeah.
think like boys watching porn so young and stuff, is it going to affect them like going into relationships?
I
Like,
don't know yet. I know.
it's
It's
bad,
scary, isn't it?
Is there something you're like seeing more of as
Oh,
like younger
yeah.
couples come into?
Yes.
Really? It's scary.
Yeah.
Like, it is really scary. Like.
It's really scary. It's really scary.
I think I've seen a lot of things about like even your productivity and stuff. It really
Mhm.
affects it.
But why the footballers aren't allowed to have sex the night before?
Yeah.
Boxers aren't allowed to have sex the night before.
That's right.
No, I don't actually believe in that. But anyway, that's by the by. But yeah, no, it's just the way it's the way your mind starts getting formed. So, and especially so young, we'll have
Mhm.
to really, really think about this. But don't be afraid to parent. If you're a parent listening to this, don't be afraid to parent. It is not your child's phone. They did not buy it. You bought the phone. It is your phone. You're letting your child use it.
Mhm.
So you need to know the password. You need to be checking the history. It's your phone. You set the dials. Our big girls had to ask to get theirs taken off 12, like when they were 18, because they couldn't find something for their A levels. I was like, we need to sort this out, you know.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to parent. Parent your children.
And would you have any advice for like say parents with kids at that age? You know, all
Don't
like
let them take their phones to their rooms.
Oh, okay.
All technologies to be seen.
Yeah, because I think back in our day, it always would have been the talk, you know,
Mhm.
the birds and the bees.
Mhm.
But like, there's only so much that can do. Like.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely. If you don't tell your
Yeah.
children about sex, someone else will,
Oh yeah,
and they'll go and find out, and they'll watch porn.
learn it from the wrong
We
place.
have to educate our children on how
Yeah.
this works, and in a proper, you know, you don't have to tell them everything. Just tell them, see if they come back. Tell them a wee bit, see when they come back. Tell them, must be open. Have to have open conversations. If we're not talking to our kids about sex, they will find out from somewhere else. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
don't start me about schools and all that sort of stuff about the sex education in school and all that
Would
stuff.
that be
That's a whole
something-
other.
Would that be something you'd maybe want to do more of yourself, like actual talks in schools, like, you know?
I don't know if they'd let me in. Do you think they'd
Do you
let
think
me
that
in?
is like something you'd
There
love
are
to do, like?
there are good organisations out there that it's really targeted to that age group. You know,
Mm.
my
Yeah.
qualification isn't in that age group.
Yeah.
So there are already really good organisations out there, but it's money. The schools don't have the money to bring them in.
Mm.
They
Just-
need funding to
I
bring them in.
suppose it's difficult too, because as a teacher, that's not maybe something you want to
No,
talk
exactly.
about with.
You're not.
So
You're
it's
a
not really fair on
geography teacher.
them, like, yeah.
Sometimes teachers, I get a bit of hate from teachers. They're like, "Well, listen, I'm like, I know we don't want a geography teacher.
Yeah.
Sex, you know, you are brilliant at geography.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have a brilliant sex life, but do you know how to teach it to teenagers?
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know, we need people who are trained in this to talk to our children
Ano-
openly.
Another thing as well is over here, it's a bit. I feel like over here, because obviously Northern Ireland, we're very religiously
Mhm.
driven,
Mhm.
and like a lot of times you hear the sort of phrase, "Oh well, no, we can't do that until we're married," and like I suppose then you think about that side of things, and you're like, how will that develop? Like, could you know, you could
How's
have
that
a
working out for you, Ross?
yeah, you could have you could have like a
Do you
a
mean like
couple-
older people saying that?
Yeah,
to kids,
yeah.
like joking type
Yeah,
thing? Yeah, no, I
type
get
thing.
what
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and that side of things, I always think about, and you're like you're obviously saying it's good thing, and then I'm obviously thinking like if people are saying that, then it drives people to go, well, if I'm not getting it here, I'm going to get it from elsewhere, and then they start down into the rabbit hole of the internet and whatnot. It's a very confusing world out there for kids, I think.
Do you know that when girls go through puberty, they go through puberty from the head down,
Mm-hmm.
and when boys go through puberty, they go through puberty from the penis up.
Yeah.
Does the world just make sense now?
Mm.
A lot more, yeah.
Our children and us have all gone through puberty. That is when it all kicks off. You're turning into a sexual being.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to meet our kids there and say, this is what's going on with your body. This is what's happening. This is why it's happening. You know, this is, you're going to figure out right now who you find attractive. Do you find girls attractive? Do you find guys attractive? Do you find multiple people attractive?
Yeah.
I mean, transgender, non-binary, we have to talk about, can't have shame about this
Yeah.
anymore. And it's only for people like us ripping down the curtain and saying, no
Yeah.
more. We can't stop it. What good has the old way done us?
Yeah.
What good has the old way done us? You know, teenage pregnancies, abortion, you know, we have to do
Yeah.
something. What we've been doing, I don't have the absolute formula,
Yeah.
but all I know is what we've been doing hasn't been working.
Yeah.
Has not. Fear and shame and guilt, and you can't do that till you're married, has not worked.
Yeah.
We need to do something else.
Yeah.
We need to do something
I
else.
feel like I think that was the point I was more trying to make, is like I feel like it's like a default over here where it's like once you know, when kids maybe want to have that conversation, it's just immediately shut down with that word. It's like, no, right, you can't do that until you're
Fear. It's
Yeah.
all fear and shame. And when we are brought up in fear and shame
Yeah.
culture, we just pass on fear and shame.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I got into this as well was I wasn't particularly happy about talking about sex in the daytime.
yeah.
And I was like, I am not passing this on to my kids. I am absolutely not passing this on to my teenagers. Absolutely no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's scary, but we have to do better. We can
Yeah.
do better.
And in terms of, obviously we've talked about ways that and things that get in the way of relationships, and we need to, you know, build on relationships and whatnot. But the flip side of that is what are the times where you just have to call it quits? Like, is there times where you've maybe came in to, you know, I get that the whole thing is to build couples up and to really like armor them to take that, but is there times you just go, nah, you know what, the two of you just aren't meant to be together, or he's not good for you, or
Well, when do you think the institution of marriage was actually established? Okay,
A long
no,
time
take
ago.
that.
pass?
Not actually that long ago.
Oh,
It
really?
was it was all established because women didn't have any rights.
Okay.
So if we did go to university, like I'm talking like 1900s here, like I'm not talking a long time ago.
Yeah.
Where if we did go to university, we weren't allowed to work after we went to university. We were only allowed to marry
Yeah.
and have children. So the institution of marriage was created for the protection of women. Okay, so that's a nice thing,
Yeah.
you would think. But so who made it? Who created it? Religion, fear and shame, all that stuff. So the idea of that you're going to have one partner for the rest of your life, we have to look at that.
Yeah.
If that's what you choose, brilliant. But we have to look at things like co-parenting. We have to look at things like there's a new thing now called bird nesting. So if you separate, the kids stay in the house and then each parent comes into the house. You know, they have their days rather than the kids have to be out of their home.
Oh, so the kids stay in the house
So
and
the
the
kids
parents
stay in
move.
the house and the parents move. You know, so we have to look at things like this. The data tells us that the chances of us being with that one person for our life are a quarter of the people who get married. So we have to really look at why. Let's try and improve that a bit. But also, why do we have this idea? You know, all the polyamory, you know, the movement into that at the minute. We have to open our eyes to what's going to work for us as individuals. We don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to be dickheads. But what is going to what's actually workable? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Open relationships, or you know, the new thing we talk about now, and we'll talk about, you know, ethical non-monogamy. We'll talk about monogamish. Talk about all different sorts of things. You know,
What's your thoughts on like open relationships?
not for me, but not for me. But if there are two people who want this and are happy with this, do the work. You know, make sure everybody's comfortable and everything's happy, and just have good communication. Don't do it to like save your relationship, or don't have a baby to save your relationship. That'd be two major things. But you know, as long as everybody's happy. I mean, statistically, the people who get married and have sex with that one person for the rest of their life, I mean, the data doesn't match up. Like, you know.
I think
you
like Ross sort of touched on it earlier. Like a religion, especially over here, plays a big part.
Yeah.
Where like you might have people who get married and they're just like, even if they're happy, they feel like they have to stick it out.
So
you know what I mean?
So half of marriages end in divorce, and the other half of them are miserable. So there's only a quarter of the people who get married who are actually married, stay married forever, and are on the form say they're happy.
Yeah.
I mean, for me to be in a miserable relationship for the rest of my life, I mean, I just couldn't. I mean, a life unfulfilled would be a life not lived.
I think it's a scary thing though, because like people think getting married is like the thing to do, like the answer to things. It's like, well, if you haven't, because I've been in conversations with people and friends and stuff and it's more like the older generations going like, if you not found yourself a woman and got married yet, and you're like, what, like why is this a thing? Do you know what I mean? And I suppose like we're not in that category, so we've all
have
been
you ever heard of epigenetics?
No.
So epigenetics is a really new study now, and it's brilliant, you guys. Oh, do you not know about this?
Oh, do you?
Just want to be sure.
Something to do with genetics.
So epigenetics is, I'll let you know. I'll tell you. Epigenetics is about what we inherit from, like, on top of our DNA.
Okay.
So like it was like your grannies. It was really important your grannies got married. If your grannies didn't get married, they were spinsters and they didn't have children. So dear bless us all. And if they did have a child and weren't married, we don't have to look very far in Northern Ireland for that.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. It's in our parents. It's in our grandparents, and it sort of is in our genes as well.
Yeah.
But it's our job to break that. It's our job to break that. So if someone looks at you and say, "Not married yet, Ross," they're looking at you like, "Oh, sad for him. He's not married."
Yeah.
Ross is like, living my best life over here. Thanks very much, mate.
I'm getting
Thanks
all the
for
ladies.
thanks for your sympathy and all, but I'm grand, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it's culture. It's in us. It's people think they're looking after you,
Yeah.
but it's fear.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, especially for over here.
I know what your next podcast is going to be on.
What?
Epigenetics.
Yeah. You're educated.
See if Ross lets us.
I'll be the decider of what we talk about in this.
Have we missed anything?
We're gonna talk about the love languages. Do you just want to move on to that now?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Are you boys prepared to tell everybody what your love languages are?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah. I done the test.
Excellent. Free test.
Free test. Free. I find the whole detachment thing interesting? Because that's
stuff.
attachment. Yeah. Because I'm not. What was
Yeah.
your love language?
Touch, physical touch, and Brona's was quality time. Yeah,
Can you have
Maybe you
two?
can have quality time touching each other.
yeah.
Sorted.
Ew.
Tell Brona this is quality time, Brona. I am touching you. In all your favourite places. Sorry.
There we go.
Sorry.
Can you have two? Right? Can you have?
Oh, I think
You've
I've
done.
all five.
This
I
is
think
what-
I've all five.
But like Ross is like, this is what mine is, but I think mine's this one.
No,
So
no, no.
then he's like, can I?
Did
have
it
two?
not come? Did it not come to you in a pie chart? Like
no, mine came.
your main one
Yeah,
Yeah,
mine
that's the
came
one.
as physical touch,
and your next one.
words of affirmation.
There you go. So
Mhm.
I was going to say something really rude there.
Yeah, we're
Tell him
terrible.
he's great. Tell him he's great while he's shagging her. Don't make that the clip on Instagram.
It's done.
Clip.
Mine is, what is it? Aoife's is quality time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mine was acts of service.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
What does
so,
that?
So, okay, 5 love languages: time, touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and gifts. Okay. So you do your free test and it'll come back to you and it'll say like 25% touch, 19% words of affirmation. And when your partner does theirs, then you say, right, okay, this is how you feel loved. But how I feel loved is by touch. How I feel loved is by this. And what we do as humans is we love our person via our love language. Okay? We need to love our person via their love language. So, acts of service, well, I say acts of service are not high on my list, but my husband disagrees immensely. But acts of service, like bringing me cups of coffee and cups of tea and, you know, bringing me doing that sort of thing, they're not big on my acts of service. Taking the bins out is big on my acts of service. But my hobbies is acts of service. So, like, he's doing a new ensuite in the house at the minute. Like, if I take him a cup of coffee and a Kit Kat, like, you'd think I was the Queen of Sheba. But if I say to him, that's a great job, honey, and he's like, I know. It's coming on, isn't it? Like, it's not how he feels loved.
Yeah.
So it's not that we can't. It's if your love languages come back similar, that's brilliant. But if they don't come back similar, it's just about remembering. She feels loved whenever I say my words to her. She feels loved when I rub her shoulders. She feels loved when I bring her gifts. Paul Brunson, he's a very, very well known relationship person. He used to call his wife needy. Until they did the love language test, and he realised gifts were just her love language. She wasn't like, you know, a brat after all.
Yeah.
It was just gifts. So it's just a really good wee test, and just gets you talking.
Yeah. See, I love getting my back scratched. So I think that's it.
Could there be like a professional back scratcher?
I wish. I did. I get it done all day.
You could go to one of those time massage things and go, no, I don't want a happy end, I just want a back scratch.
Just
Thanks
keep
very
going.
much,
Just
mate.
keep going.
They're up the Lisburn Road, I hear.
Shay turned
Friend
right
told me.
here, like, where are you going, Shay? Go away.
It's not a
I'm
happy end I want. I
investigating.
want my back scratched.
Is it? We've obviously, there's 3 of us done our love language test. 2 out of 3 have said touch. Is it more a man thing that
No.
words of affirmation or not? The love language is touch.
No, it's a younger person's thing.
Yeah.
He's horny. It's all 3 of you, isn't it?
It's all good. It's good.
Is yours touch, Aaron?
Oh, dear goodness
Oh
gracious. Right,
God,
okay.
Lord.
I'm the only mature one here.
You're fine.
What
I'm sure
was-
your
was
partners
yours
are very
gi-
happy.
What was your acts of service or
Acts of
gifts?
service, yeah.
So
What
it's that
I
cup of
thought
coffee.
it was a bit of gifts too, but I suppose they're similar then.
Gifts
too,
and
aren't
acts of
they? Yeah.
service. And if any parents are watching this, listening to this, you can do it with your kids from their 4 years up. Helped me immensely when my kids were teenagers. So good when your kids are teenagers.
Why? What? Like,
My oldest daughter, who will probably listen to this, whose friends told me I was going to be on this. My older daughters were like, Mum, are you doing something next week? And I was like, what would that mean exactly? That could be anything. They go, are you on some podcast with some fellas next week? And I was like, I am. We were talking about it down the pub the other night, and I was like, oh, that's
Nice.
very interesting. Or stroke
Nice.
embarrassing for them. But anyway, so my oldest daughter, her love language and mine are the same. Time and words of affirmation. So when she would come in from school, she needed me like time. How was your day? Da, 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 da. So then I did that. Then with my second daughter, I was like, how was your? And she was like, I'm going to stab you in the eye.
Yeah.
You know. She needed to go to her room and sort of like decompress, and then I would take her up, cup of tea, cup of coffee, favourite drink, and a wee biscuit or whatever, and then she'd be like, Mum, do you know what happened today? I spoke her love language by acts of service, and she loves a wee gift. She loves a wee gift. If you're in the airport and you see something, took it over to her flat, and you know, she was like, "Mummy brought me this." You know, she feels loved. That's how she feels loved. Yeah.
I find it interesting whenever you say like some of the stuff does relate back to your teenage or like how you were brought up and stuff. And I know we had Sinead on the podcast, and she was talking a lot about like, oh, you're maybe doing this because when you look back at your childhood, this happened, and I find that so interesting.
So they're doing studies now on whether your love language is your woundedness from childhood or what you received in a really good way as childhood. You know, so did you come from a family of huggers? So touch is your love language. Did you come from a family that weren't huggers and weren't good with that? So now you really crave it. You know what I mean? So that's just something for you to mull over. Or it's just your thing. It's just your thing, you know? You know? My husband says I have all 5. So I said that makes me really easy because you just hit all 5 marks. It's grand. Plenty of scope there. Yeah. Plenty of scope.
It's interesting whenever you do break it down into 5 actual things. It makes it a lot more easier to digest for people.
Yeah, and then people I see on Instagram sometimes, you know, digestives are my love language, or, you know, podcasts are my love language, you know, things like that. And that just opens up the conversation as well, you know, all those sort of things. And just making it normal. We have to know how to do this thing. And these are just little tips and tools that help us in that department, you know. Oh, what about... I don't actually know a lot about this, and I'll have to educate myself. Erotic archetypes.
Archetypes? I thought you were going to say erotic architecture.
Erotic
I was going to say, you're shouldn't say
What about that? So just
what
like,
is erotic
I
archetypes?
know, I don't know too much about it. I'm going to have to find out. No, I do. I will watch a TV program. Does that count? It's just like you might be really attracted to somebody. You might think this is great. Then you get into bed with them and you're like, okay.
It's like X.
Wee bit like ick, or maybe someone is really into a particular thing and you're into soft and gentle, and they're into let me tie you up and, you know, call you this, and you're into like, no, I don't like it like that. I think there's 5 of them. I'll research those for the next podcast. But there's a TV program on it. I think it's Gwyneth Paltrow's one. But yeah, no, it's fascinating as well.
She's candle type, isn't she? She made a candle.
Oh, she makes the candles. I was like, is this an erotic archetype? Candles? She
no,
makes
it is.
Candles.
That
she
smell
makes
like her
vagina. I'll say it for you.
What?
Did you not know this?
What?
Shea bought you one for your new house.
Is that why I'm burning it? That's why.
How does it smell?
No.
No,
that's
a
not.
candle and
Okay.
it's scented like her vagina.
Wow.
Her own personal one, or like
Wow.
a collection of them?
A collection for her vagina.
Her
No, it's just hers, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Well, I know her thing company's called Goop. So the series is
called Goop.
This is madness.
It's a massive brand. Like,
People would buy that. Like,
wow, this is really good. It's really massive, is it?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
how big's a candle? Like?
Oh my god.
These are
Ross has
one
lost
word.
This was
Ross
meant to be
has lost his-
educational.
Ross has lost his glasses.
It is educational. Anyone who wants to buy a candle knows where to get one now.
That smells of a vagina.
That smells like a vagina. If you're into
Clean vagina.
There we go.
Hope so.
Oh, I hope so. That's an intoxicating aroma in your house. What is that, Gwyneth Paltrow?
Gwyneth Paltrow's mushy mimi.
Yeah. There's a couple of
Pull
things.
it back together, Ross. Pull it together. Come on,
I
now.
know.
Come on. You can do this.
Sweating. I've seen a few things on like a couple of like, I was gonna sort of put you on the spot in terms of giving some advice.
Do you know how weird I am? I'm excited. Like anybody else would be like, no, don't ask me. And I'm like, yes. That's
So-
right.
I've got one, like they're big, massive stories, so I'll just like condense them down. But basically, an instance in which the wife of this fella was in the company of her in-laws, so over at his mum and dad's, got into a bit of a like heated discussion around a topic, and her opinion sort of condescended that of the mum and dad of her in-laws. Her then husband said, basically told her whenever it got a bit heated to shut up. So like, how would you go about handling that situation?
So
Give
it's
him a
back
slap
to
or-
that. Yeah, it's back to that. Everyone has to view things the same. They don't. that woman is entitled to her opinion, and those people are entitled to their opinion, and it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. And we do need to say, that's how I feel about that. And we can have a bit of conversation back and forth, and then we can say, I can see how you're going there. I can see what you're doing. But this is how I feel about it. He's grown up in a house where his feelings weren't taken into consideration, that he wasn't allowed to have his own ideas and feelings if the parents are very staunch like that. So that could be part of the problem, maybe.
So would that be the type of thing where you'd be looking at that and going, I need to look at him, like you need to be looking at sort of filling, as you were saying, sort of filling his cup up, where there's
wouldn't it be a lovely thing if you were there with your partner? Remember the word, you're there with your partner, and your partner was to say, look, you know what, Lisa's entitled to her opinion. It's not the same as your opinion, but Lisa's very entitled to her opinion, so can we all just have our own opinions here? Wouldn't that be a lovely thing for your partner to say? Yeah, fair. That one solved them. That person for free.
Yeah, there was another person on this. It was more along the lines of like the sort of sex life type thing, where they're like in their, it's a married couple. They're in their sort of late 30s, early 40s, and she has proposed about like spicing things up with some like role playing, and he's like, he doesn't like it, but he doesn't want to say. Okay. How would you go about it?
How does he know he doesn't like it?
Yeah, well, I could go into the story, but I think she's come in playing a role of a student, and he's like, I don't like where this is going. So, but I think he's like, long story short, because it's massive. Okay. He's decided to go through with it, but at the same time, he's like, I hope this never happens again.
So funny. So here's what we want to do. So this is life coaching 101. So we want to be trying to push ourselves out of our comfort zone as much as we can, because we get into a comfort zone, and in relationships, this is very true. We get into a comfort zone, and that comfort zone almost becomes a bit of a prison. It's the same thing. It's the same touch. It's the same. And pushing ourselves out of that comfort zone can be difficult. But so when I'm talking to one-to-ones or couples, I'll say, look, what would be sort of 3 or 4 you could push yourself into? Not an 8 or a 9, where it's just like, oh my days, my skin's going to fall off, What's the 3 or 4? So maybe that fantasy isn't the right one for him, but maybe he'd like to go and pick her up in a bar.
Oh yeah, like Modern Family, yeah,
yes.
Like Claire
and it's very
hello,
good
Juliana.
Yes. Name tags, the whole thing. And the time when her jacket got caught in the escalator, and then she had the underwear on with her daddy. Oh dear, cringe! I just couldn't believe it. Brilliant. Anyway, it's not what we're here to talk about today, Lisa. So maybe that's not for him. Yeah, but maybe bumping into her in Tesco's. Oh, hello, haven't seen you since uni. How are you? Do you want to go for a drink after you get your Tesco shopping done? Oh. Cannot tell you how fun it is. Great job. You need to get a different name for each other. And you make your persona and all yourself. Great fun. All the people who are big experts, way bigger than me, recommend it. Great fun.
Really? It seems like such, I don't know.
I could just imagine like someone who knows the couple walking past being like, what the fuck he's doing? Like, that's your wife?
That is a problem. From experience, that is a problem. Also, when your son rings and says he's kicked the ball over the fence and you have to come home and you're like, so I have a son, and you see he's good. It's great fun. It's funny. We, during lockdown, actually, the walks you had to go on, I would go on out, and sure, we'll bump into each other down the street for a minute, sure, have a bit of crack. So you just walked out, oh, goodness sake, remember, we're not seeing anybody, haven't seen you, blah, blah, blah. Went for like a half an hour walk, came back to the house, fell back into our proper people that we are, put the kettle on. Now, sure, that was good 20-minute crack, just made up stupid stories like, have you heard I've opened a blah blah club in Norwich,
Do you have to like flirt with them and like chat them up, or is it like just like
we're hardly gonna
just chat, or
you hardly just is that not the whole point? Like sort of,
and like, do you not like speak of it whenever you come home, or like?
Well, you can plan it. You can plan the next one.
Oh, right, yeah. So
you have to make a plan. Yeah. Like, imagine if you're the other sitting in the bar and you just went up to her and went, hello, what's your name? She'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You have to make a plan.
I can imagine
you on. Ross will make the plan for everybody. It'll be grand.
Shay and Aoife bumping into each other in Tesco. Like, Shay's like, powerful weather out there, isn't it? She's like, God, well, it was nice talking to you.
There's a wee thing on Instagram, actually. It's called the Discovery Challenge. It's a book, and there's wee cards and things. It's a great wee tool. But there's a wee video, and he bumps into her in Tesco's and is like, hey, how are you? Would you fancy going on a date with me today? And she was like, okay, well, sure, let's put these groceries back. And da-da-da. So they've obviously made a plan. And they go like on a date in their town, like discovering it. It's fun. Just fun. Just investing in the relationship, remembering that that's who you were. You know, life can get in the way.
Yeah.
Do you know the difference between desire, or where the two, love and desire, where the two live? No. So love lives in closeness and connection and communication, and desire lives in distance. Okay. So during COVID, when we were all together all the time, the desire piece was really, really difficult. It was difficult to keep that desire alive. And seeing your person doing their thing, that's where desire lives. So maybe your person plays the drums, or is a guitarist, or maybe even just like outside chopping wood or fixing things. Not my husband at the minute with the ensuite, but anyway, you know, doing their own thing. That's where desire lives, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes we become too much of a morph. We just morph into each other, and that's where desire and that's where the complacency comes in. We have to keep that separateness. It's called the third, and things like that, fun things like that, keep that desire, keep that real flame lit.
I suppose that's like whenever you become each other, nothing's really interesting then, is it?
Exactly. It's, you know, when your person comes home and tells you a brilliant story, but it happens, you're like, you desire them. You desire to be with them. You desire to go to bed with them. You know, you desire them. You know, when your person is lit up, when they're happy, when they're fulfilled, when they're living their best life, that's when they are the most desirable.
I suppose that then brings it back to the cup thing again.
Exactly. See you,
Getting
mate.
there.
See you, mate.
Wow.
Come on ahead.
I'm sure we're all like you. Just pick things up easy.
I know.
And you know what's really strange about you three fellas? It's usually women who like to use their words. You can find this out next time, Shay. Women use like 40,000 words a day, and men use like 8,000. So it's kind of different that you guys, it's a guys podcast.
Yeah.
You know? You know? These are all talkers. But don't be surprised when you do these extensive podcasts that, like the rest of the night, you know, your words are used.
Yeah.
You also said in the one where you didn't have me on about relationships, about having healthy silences. Yes. Healthy silence is a beautiful, beautiful thing when you're with somebody.
Is it bad if you can't be healthy in silence? Or have healthy silences?
Bad's a strong word. Interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting. But, you know, it's lovely. We car journey up to the port, either listening to a podcast or just, you know, listen to music. It's lovely. Lovely to be able to do that. And then when you're up there, you're out for dinner, you're chat, you know, lovely.
But I suppose at the start of the relationship is different, where you don't really want your awkward silences because you're not really comfortable with them yet. But
no, you don't want that. And also at the start of a relationship, don't make the dates like hours and hours long, because that's quite intense, you know. It's quite intense. A nice walk, a nice cup of coffee, you know, 45 minutes, that's all right, because it's full concentration, you know.
Give her the trailer, just not the full.
What
you can
I thought
have.
you said the trainer.
I thought you
trailer,
said,
like
I thought you said
trailer.
get her in the trailer. And I was like, what?
You said that too.
Always come back for more.
The
Role play to the
Give her
extreme.
the trailer.
The advertisement, just
Well, what I always say to people is
the taster, the taster.
the taster. So I do coach some one-to-ones, lots of one-to-ones, lots of women and men, who all of my advice is show up as exactly yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Show up yourself. I get the feeling that you guys have all been with your significant others for quite a while, and I get the feeling you knew them even before you started going out with them. That's why sometimes friendships that turn into relationships work really well, because you can't bullshit. Like, you knew who they were. You know, you knew who they were. Like, imagine me starting dating somebody and pretend to be shy and quiet. Wouldn't that be mental? You know what I mean? You have to come out the gate as you're or if you are shy and quiet, don't come out the gate as a big extrovert. You know, come out exactly. And I always say to women, don't take the jewels from your crown just because someone isn't fit to carry it.
What's that mean?
Sorry. So lots of women dial themselves down.
Like pretend to be someone who they're
take
not.
the jewels.
Don't take the jewels out of your crown just because he's not fit to carry it.
Oh, okay, I get it now.
Okay, you want full on, wear all your wear the crown, laden with jewels. Find somebody who thinks that's cool. Or I would say to people, it is, find somebody who thinks you're weird. It's great. There's two people who think each other's weird, grand, like, you know?
Yeah.
You know, because we're all weird and different.
Yeah.
You know?
It has been an absolute pleasure. This has went on.
Sorry about my coughing.
Yeah, this has went on. I knew this would happen. What did I say? I said this will go on for a lot longer than we anticipated, which is great.
You may make it a two-parter.
Yeah. But honestly, thank you very much for coming on. And yeah, if people are listening to this and think, you know what, I want to give this a whirl, the best place to find you is probably Instagram, Relationship Coach NI.
Relationship.coaching.ni or website relationshipcoach.com. Yeah, DM me, email me, whatever. Yeah.
We will leave a link to all of that in the description. So if you are looking to get in touch, just go to our description and you'll find
Thank you
Lisa.
so much for having me, and so sorry about the silly cough.
No, you're grand.
You're
You're
grand.
grand. Thank you very, very much. We'll see you in the next one.